Okay, so let's start with the first lecture of Bootstrap. Um, so this is a visual documentation page of Bootstrap. Here you can get all the things related to Bootstrap and all. So, but the thing that you should look for is the documentation tab, which has all the documentation for all the components or all the kind of elements you will be using. Um, Also, it has a good search, and then it will take you, let's say you want buttons. So it directly goes to those pages. So you can use it very effectively. One of the things you should not do is you don't try to go to Stack Overflow or Google for finding the class names of Bootstrap and all. So one of the reason for that is there are multiple versions of Bootstrap, so you need to know which version. So if you are in a documentation page, you know which version you are using, and you can shift to that version also. And then some of the questions which are old might have different class names or altogether different classes. Then you'll be struggling why these things are not working. So refrain from it. So the documentation have all issues. Try to all the um, notes regarding it. So try to use the documentation part. So again, so like I said yesterday, so Bootstrap is nothing but a CSS file. So how to get started? So you just have to import that CSS file. So there's an external server you can import with. So you just have to copy this and put it in your head section. Then it will start working. So there are some JavaScript components which you will require for using some of the elements which we'll be seeing after you learn jQuery. So now I'm going to use CodePen to showcase most of the things. So again, if you are using CodePen, so like when you create a new pen, I don't know, so how many of you explored CodePen. So if you go to settings, so you can see that in the CSS, you can search and add the libraries there itself. So you don't have to import it. So yeah. So it's already been added. So now Bootstrap is uh, already added to it. So when you are using Bootstrap, so you try to write as much minimal CSS as possible. So you try to use um, all the classes provided by Bootstrap. So I'm just going to create a class called box, which I will use um, to showcase where the content is and all the things are. So for let's so this I will use to showcase to get you a feel of how the content is flowing. So again, once Bootstrap is imported, so you can directly start using it. So the first thing you need to do is you need to uh, import this. If you are writing what I say is a like your own HTML file, or it gives the default starter template. You can copy paste it and start using it. So I already have it, so I've just start with the basic thing. So if you just put, so you know now it looks it has certain font sizes, and it has certain ways in which it looks. So these are the default ways in which you look. So the first thing you need to be understanding about is a bit of understanding about is layouts. So in layouts today we are just going to look at a simple grid. So it's different from I mean it's kind of grids which you learned in using CSS, but they perform a bit differently. So the one thing you should always remember is in Bootstrap. So so there are lots of classes you can use, but you need to understand how to use those classes. So Bootstrap is all about adding classes to um, your HTML page. Again, so it has all the things. So it has doc type, and if you want responsive meta tag, you can add it and all the things. So now let's start with the like these are the layout. And so Okay, so the first thing you should understand is, so there is this class called container and container fluid. So what uh, these things do is, so they put the content inside the box, or they control the size of the box. So what I mean by this is, so if I put like something in, I'm just going to put box to it so that you understand. So you can see this is a container size. So by default, the container will have a fixed size. So the fixed size is mentioned here. So uh, in so the maximum size it has is 1140. So in greater than 992, it's 960. So this is the size of the container. So in less than 576 pixels, it takes 100%. You need not to remember this, but the one thing you should remember is, if you are using a container, it has a fixed width on, other than smaller screens, it has a fixed width. So you can see it has a fixed width, so it is not changing. But if you want them to, if you want that whole layout to occupy the whole available space, you just have to replace with container fluid. So you can see now the container fluid will occupy the whole space. So whatever the screen size it is, so you can see from the documentation, the container fluid will have 100% in in all the scenarios. Again, so these are some other classes which you can use. So if you use container Excel, it takes 100% in all screens, and in large screen it is maximized to this 1140 pixels. So you can use multiple classes. So for this, so container LG is, so we will look at what SMMD LG Excel in the second class, but you just need not to understand it now. So because these are common for most of the elements you use in Bootstrap. So again, if you want to make some content or put it in a container, and you can start working on those things. So now comes uh, the grid. So uh, it is, so the grid system is, like in Bootstrap, is much powerful. So by default, uh, if you use, so there are so many things you can use it for. So by default, today we are going to look at just something called call, which is defined by the class called column, so col. So for using these grids, for first you need to define a row. um, so again, it's a division. So all you have to do is to define a row. You have to use, okay. So this is how you define a row. Now to create elements inside it which are equally distributed, you need to put something called call class. So it's the short notation for column. So I'm going to put the box. So I'm just going to say, so by, you don't have to worry how Bootstrap does it. So that one of the thing that it does is, so if it's a column, it will occupy the whole space if there is only one column. So as soon as you put the second column, so without any class name, so it is distributed. So you can see it is distributed. It becomes 50%. You can put as many columns as possible. What it does is, so whatever the space it has, so it keeps on distributing, means it has equally, it divides the columns equally. So you can put as many columns as possible. So it is let you defining the layout of the page in very easy fashion. You are not writing any CSS code here. You can just look it. so it divides the, by default the column class divides whatever the page or whatever the element it has into multiple uh, multiple entries. And again, if you want to define this the second row, so you can say, let's say for differentiating I'll put a HR here, and I'll define certain different row. So you can see it has 3 columns. Again, you can keep on defining as many rows as possible. uh, Again, if you want a row with which has 4 elements, till now we are not concerned about the responsiveness. We will look at it in the second lecture. You can see it has 4 elements. It has 3 elements. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 elements. So whenever you want a certain number of elements, these, the one thing you should remember is these will be um, whatever the screen size is, these will be auto adjusted, so you don't have to worry about uh, uh, changing the size of those things and all. That's the basic thing which you need to know about grids for today. So that's the only thing we are using for today, or the first lecture. In the second lecture, we'll look at how to clearly understand and do those things in a much defined fashion. So this is all about the columns and grids. So the next thing we are going to look at is uh, if you want to, there is something called typography. So it defines how the text looks like in Bootstrap. So Bootstrap, so it uses, like I said, it uses reset to make sure, or normalize to make sure all the browsers have the same look and feel. So it provides us classes for. Um, Let me write some comments here. This is all about grid. Now let's start with the typography. So if you want to create any elements or which looks uniform in all the browsers, so you can use, so by default H1 and also they will look like this. They have a fixed size. Uh, you don't have to worry about any of the things. So again, I'm defining a class called container. So previously I used container fluid, now I'm using container. So you can see what is the difference in the sizes, and I'm using the directly, these are the headings which you will see. So container has a fixed width. You can see that it's not using the whole space, unlike container fluid. If you want to use much bigger text or display headings, you can use it. So all you have to do is you have to add classes for all the things. So if you use these classes, I'm just going to copy paste here so that you can just see what's the effect of it. You can see these things are getting displayed with. So again, I keep on repeating, Bootstrap is all about knowing the class names and applying them for your HTML thing, so that it looks the same way in which it's been written. The best thing about it is you understand that you are not writing not even a single line of CSS. Again, if you want to write a paragraph, so there is, if you want a paragraph with a bigger text, so this is a paragraph with a bigger text. Again, if you remove, I just remove and show how the normal paragraph looks like. You can see that this is the normal small paragraph. This is a large paragraph. So these are the headings. Again, let me put some HR breaks around it so that you can understand what is what. So these are the headings. In the same way, what are the elements you want to use, you can look at these typography elements, and then if you want to insert some quotations, you can use this quotation classes. And these are certain useful things which you can keep on using. So it has alignment utilities, so which let you align the text in a certain fashion. So by default it's left. So if you put text center, it would be center align. If you put text right, it would be right aligned. So these are all the things which are very helpful when you are doing some displays. And the normal lists and all you can use. If you want a list which is like inline, you can use text inline class. These are description list, so it says it's like kind of when you want to show something like name, Nupul, um, gender, male, and all the things, you can use DLDT. So DLDT are HTML tags. I don't know how many of you looked at it. You can use them. So these are all the things that is pertaining to and typography. There are like many classes which you can use, and all you have to do is refer to the documentation of this. So again, if you want to use uh, like H1, yeah, or so the one thing that Bootstrap does it, if you want to use uh, without using H1 tags or H2 tags, if you give the P tags the class H1, it will look like similar to H1 tags. So whenever you want those things, you can do that. So again, so we are just done with the typography. Now let's look at the next set of things. So comment this thing out. So the next set of things we'll be looking at is buttons. So because you can see whenever you are using any of the or building any of the web pages, you need good looking buttons. Um, Again, so when you are using buttons in Bootstrap, all you have to do is you have to add one class called button. So they will automatically look better. Now I'm going to use a combination of both, which I have taught you till now to make sure you know these looks better. So let's say I want to create 3 buttons. So I'll which are uniformly spread. So I'll create a class called column. So I created 3 columns. That means which are equally spread or equal size. Now, if you want to put the buttons, all you have to do is use button, and the class is button. So by default, the class is button. And if you by default, the primary color of Bootstrap is blue. So all the buttons look blue. If you want a secondary color which is gray, you can use class called button secondary. If you want green, it's called button success. These are the constant things which Bootstrap uses. So primary color is blue, secondary is gray. You will receive these classes in many other components or many other items. So success is green, and danger is red, warning is yellow, info is kind of blue, and there is light and dark, and these are all the things which you can use. Again, if you want to put a simple button, I'm putting. So you can see because I used columns, so these are in the columns, and if you want these columns to be, if you can do text center, they will be center aligned. So you can see these things are center aligned. So with very minimal code, you started now producing very good looking pages. Again, these button classes can also be used for links. So let's say you're building links. So this is how the different default link will look in Bootstrap. It is simple link, but if you want it to look like a button, so you can use the button uh, class, and there are other button classes which I'm going to use show it to you know. So these are outline buttons. So what happens is the same buttons. If you want only the border, and when you hover, the color will appear. So these are outline buttons, and I'm going to use some of these outline buttons classes now. Again, I keep on re-emphasizing, you don't have to use any classes or any write any css. As soon as you put the classes, they will start looking in this color. So you can see now this is a link which looks like uh, a button. In the same way, if you want sizes, so it has a couple of sizes which it provides. So by default, it's this size. If you want a large button, all you have to do is you want to add one more class called button large. So you can see it became button large. In the same way, if you add button SM, it's just the size of the button will reduce. You can see it's just small. So this is small, this is a normal size button, and this is a large button. Uh, Let me also make it text center so that it looks uniform. Okay, so these are the three sizes that button provides. If you want to create, let me create one more column here. If you want to create a button which occupies the whole given space, so there is something called block buttons. These are block level buttons. It will occupy the whole space which is given, yeah, which is given by, which is uh, which is actually it's the whole space of the parent. So whatever the parent, the size it has, so it will occupy. So again, you can keep adding many classes, as many classes, or you can play around with these classes. So I now created a small block level button, or this is a normal size block level button. If you add more classes, it looks like the same way. So you can see it's the same way, but it occupies the whole size of the uh, column. So in this way, you are able to produce buttons which are nice looking. So there are many buttons which you can do. So some of the things we will see when the toggling and all, we'll see when you do uh, jQuery. So again, if you want to use checkboxes, and also you can see it's called button group. Um, we will look at them once. So these are the button groups. So this is how you use a button group. It's the same, but you create a container with button group, and then you put uh, them. So it looks like a single button with three different like sub buttons or whatever you call them. So it's a series of buttons um, which you can use. So these are the things which you can do with buttons. So the next thing we are going to look at is uh, cards. So what are cards are? So these are content containers. So if you look at any of the modern websites, so they have content and images or some kind of action items. So that is what the card provides you with. So by default, the card provides you with very basic framework. You can add and create as many kinds of things with a combination of multiple things, so that you can create very good looking, what I say is boxes which has variable types of content. So again, I'm going to use container fluid here. So it will take the whole space, and I'm going to use a row. So everything put it in rows, so that you can build layouts very easily. So it's a row. So I'm going to put each card in a column so that I can play around with how many cards I want to show in a row and all. So again, I created the basic layout. Now I will. This is the syntax for a card. So if you provide something like this, so this will be automatically look like enemies. Uh, yeah. So you can see it's. You put some HR select again. Okay. So this is the card. You can see it's at the bottom. So but it's not so prominent. Um, you can you can add you can use titles. So or card has something called card title and all. You can use those things to make them look better. So again, so you can see this is the card title, and if you want it to be center, you can use text center. You can use all the things which you know till now to. So you can see this is the card title, and or you can, if you want everything to be at the center, you apply the text center here. So this is the card. All I have to do to create one more of this card in this row is I just copy paste it. Now you can see how automatically the layouts get registered with two cards. So you can see there are two cards now. Uh, uh, Very good looking things. Again, I will add one more. So now you have three cards. Again, if you want to add something to this, you can add. If you want any images, all you have to do is you have to put an image here. Okay, so and then some of the the cards can be used with headers and footers. So let's say you want to you use a header. So if you add a class called header, it will get an header. Okay, you can see it got a header which is slight grayish, and it looks like a heading. So yeah, so this is a card which I made. Again, if you want to put some buttons, you can keep the buttons with the same thing. So I just created a button called red color button. So that's why I used button danger to make it red. So these are the things which I use to build this kind of layout. Again, so very powerful to build the modern uh, um, or the modern products you can see in most of them. The next thing we are going to look at is the spacing. So now till now uh, you have created something which has kind of looks cramped. Let's say you want to use margins and padding. So it has default margins and paddings for which you can use to make it look uniform. So let me look at spacing. Yeah. So it has these classes which you can use. I'm going to show you in a bit, but first you need to understand M stands for margin, P stands for padding. So like there are four directions. So if you want the matching and padding in all the directions, you don't have to use any of these classes. If you want in top, you have to use uh, top MT. In the same way, if you want to use padding top, you have to use PT. If you want the padding on left and right, so that is your x-axis. So you have to use MX, And if you want on top and bottom, it's y-axis, you have to use uh, uh, y. And there are 5 sizes. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is an increasing order of sizes. So I'm going to show you how these affect the layouts. Now again, let me shift to, so anything you want to put in, if you want everything in a same size, you can put it in the same container, but I'm just alternating between fluid and container size. So I'm just defining them again. Okay, so again, I'll put a row because I want to create some multiple things so that you can show you. Now let's put some div for you to showcase the effect of margining and padding. So I'll just create a box. So you can see there should be a box at the bottom. Let me put it a bit above. Now it's easy for you to see. Yeah. So this is the box. Now I'm going to create more of these boxes to showcase you how padding and, let me create. So by default, column has some margins between each of them. So if you want to use padding, let's say p, and if you say 1, you can see the padding is uh, a bit of padding is there. So if you want to, I'm going to use different padding for each of them. So p3, p5. So you can see how the size of the padding is changing. P1, P3, P5. So this is in all directions. So if you can use 2 and 4 also. Again, let me copy this to showcase you more effects of padding. Okay, so these things are there. Now, if you use P X, P Y, again here I says P left. So you can see this is in X direction. That means um, left and right, one padding. In Y direction, I just put 3. So you can see there is no left and right padding. This is sticking to this. In the same way, this I put only in the left direction. And if you want, you can add multiple classes. So PT4. If you want different paddings in all different directions, you can do that. So PB2, sorry, PB2. Again, you can see now it is different in all the different scenarios. The same is the case with margins. So if you want uh, different margins, you can start using, instead of P, you just have to replace with M. So that the convention is same. M is for margin, P is for padding. uh, X direction means left and right, Y means top and bottom. If you want individual, you have to use T for top, B for bottom, L for left, R for right. Again, but the values you can use from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 0. If you put 0, there'll be 0 um, padding or margin based on the things. So these are the few things. Now let's look at the next set of things for the day, the last set of things. So these are the things are called forms. So again, when you are using when you are building any of the web pages, you need to use forms, and whenever you are using default input, it doesn't look so good. So Bootstrap provides you the classes for forms to make them look better. All you have to do is let me use a container fluid here again, or a container, whatever you want to use based on how the design, how the design you want. So let's put it without something. So let's show you. Let me show you how the form by default it looks like. So if you create a form, so again by default, if you put any input, uh, let me put put a default input. So let me remove the class. So okay, by default the input box looks like this. So but if you add the Bootstrap class called form control, they automatically start looking better, and it also has some border when you click on it. So these these are the things which you can make forms make look better. In the same way, if you want to put some select, so I'm just creating some select, some dummy select. Again, this is how your default select looks like, and as soon as you put the class called form control, they start looking nice. So this is the Bootstrap way of select. I'm just okay. Okay, so you can see it automatically starts looking nicer. So these are the things which you can use to make things look better, and this is how they look if it's a multi-select, if it's a text area, and also that they look much better. And the same way, if you want a big form, you can use LG. So like I said, and if you the same thing which you used for buttons. So LG is large, SM is small. Like I said, you keep on repeating these kind of elements in many of the things. And if you want let's say if you want check boxes, you can use these kind of you can use these kind of classes. Everything is written out here. If you want the check boxes in a line, not one below the other, you can use this. uh, Again, if you want without labels, you can use this. So now comes the interesting part. If you want to create some structure around the forms, so all you have to do is you can use those classes to make the forms look much better, or according to your arrangement. And also the labels also you can add it. So let's create some form with uh, actually you can just copy paste it. So or you can put them in a from row. You can use this. um, you can just realize, you will just automatically realize how good these forms looking, just by, yeah, you can see. Again, if you want to modify it, you can keep modifying it. So this is a row, form row. So it is a normal, as a normal row you are putting columns. you can put columns here. So if you want to add one more thing, all you have to just do is you create one more uh, column, and let's say, and you can see it's automatically evenly spaced. So based on these kind of things, you can uh, create forms in whatever way you want. Let's say in the next row I want to create a form which has only two, so I create one more form, and I'll remove the middle one. So now, so based on your business scenario, or your requirements, you can uh, start creating the forms in whatsoever the way you want. Okay, just folding it. I'm just putting a HR here, or you can put a line break to make it. Okay, so you can see now the form looks like this. um, if you want labels, you can put labels. So all you have to just do is don't worry about this MD and all. We look at in the second lecture. So till whatever the concepts you learned in grid, using that you can create good looking uh, pages or elements. So if I put label, yeah, yeah, the label is here. Okay, so you can see now the form, this form has labels, and so the inside of this text which you are seeing is called placeholder text. So I'm writing placeholders, whatever you want to see. So here you can give examples, or when you're putting labels, it's you see. So it's like kind of giving a hint to the user. Okay, in the same way, form have some more things called like you can see there's something called help text. If you want to give some small hint or uh, thing to the user, you can use this. Yeah, can use these classes. So small is for small text. So let's say, you can see there is a small text that kind of appears below the form, so you can guide the users for in whatever the way you want. There are uh, some other things like input groups. What input groups does is, so if you want to create some kind of this button or effect with along with the form, all you have to do is, instead of input, you have to create an input group, and then and use this. What is the prepend means before, append means after. So you have to use this, and then so that the element will look like this, so you don't have to uh, worry about uh, aligning them and all. So these will be helpful if you are building some complicated forms and all. uh, that's the whole crux of it. So if you look at today's where is this is regarding forms, right? I put, okay. So if you look at today's lecture, you can see that we created this good looking page without writing any CSS. So all the CSS has been provided with is by the Bootstrap. So all you are doing is you are using those classes to create good looking, let's say, layouts or elements, and then without any effort. So that's why, like I said, it's a very um, uh, useful thing for the developers. So because with very minimal effort or efforts, you can now start building very good looking pages. So that's that's the whole